Hi everyone, my name is Ksenia, and if you're here, you're probably interested in sustainability, zero waste, minimalism, and mental health. May 17th is the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia, which is a global movement to stand against the LGBTQIA+ discrimination and promote inclusion. To celebrate the Ida Hobbit and express my solidarity with the fellow trans folks, I want to talk about my history of boycotting the Harry Potter franchise. Just like many millennials before, more YA novels like Percy Jackson and the Olympians in 2005, Twilight in 2005, The Hunger Games 2008, and Divergent later on 2011. Harry Potter for me was one of the unique pieces of media that united many children and young adults, and even adults. Like my mom was also obsessed with the books. Similar to many people growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, I was growing up reading Harry Potter. I remember getting the third book in the series, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, as a Christmas present, and spending the whole day and night reading the book non-stop until I finally finished it. I also played some Harry Potter games on my PC and on the Lego Harry Potter on PlayStation with my partner. Up until recently, I was saying that something, that and that, this and that was my Patronus, and I also had a proud Hufflepuff with a badger in my bio. And it felt like my childhood experience was always with me. But my childhood ended in 2019 when Rowling tweeted that Hermione Granger was a trans-exclusionary radical feminist, TERF in short, who is opposed to trans rights. And Rowling said, Hermione is smart, talented, and 100% gender critical. Hermione believes that sex is a biological fact determined by chromosomes and that male predators will use trans-friendly legislation to assault women, which is I'm not even going to address because everyone knows that queer people are the most susceptible to problems with mental health, especially trans folks, the most vulnerable population, the one that gets attacked sexually and that gets into the most abusive relationships. So it's just way out of reality, facts, and statistics. Back then, I was privileged enough, living as a cisgendered woman, not even realizing what TERF stood for, or that Rowling had actually been posting other transphobic content on her Twitter, in essays, and even in a book in the Silkworm from 2014. In which a trans woman is portrayed as non-passing, and also that the trans woman was threatening someone with sexual violence and so on. In fact, the list of transgressions Rowling did in the past years is very long, and it's still happening in 2024, but to be honest, I don't even want to repeat it and show all the bullshit that she's spinning. This, however, made me deconstruct my whole experience with the Harry Potter series as a queer person. To think of it, there were clear signs of Rowling's heteronormativity in the books. For example, all the students upon graduation coupled up in the end. There were not anyone who stayed single, not got married, not had children. Not for feminists like Rowling, that's pretty odd as well. Plus, there was that rule about boys not being allowed to come into the girls' quarters, which as a teenager, I thought that it was secure for the girls, but Then Rowling is making the same argument that toilets should only be used by people by gender assigned at birth. So trans women would not then be allowed to enter public toilets because they are unsafe, which is, like I said, ridiculous. So I want to clear it up once and for all for Miss Rowling and for anyone who is watching, that there is a difference between biological sex, gender, and sexuality. So the biological sex is identified by 3 major characteristics, which are chromosomes, XY or XY or XX. Then reproductive organs, the uterus and eggs, body, and then genitalia, which is outside. There are people who are born with reproductive organs of one sex and genitalia of another, or both, and also with different chromosome combinations. For example, there can be a fully formed, a baby girl, but she does not have uterus and she has the gonads. These kind of people are called intersex, and they can grow up and fully form into one gender or another and still have multiple genitalia. For example, people who are female presenting would have testes and so on. What your sex is does not determine your gender, which is largely based on a social construct of gender norms and gender behavior and mannerisms, and then person self-identification. This is why a person, independent from their genitalia, can identify as male, female, both female and male at a certain time, or neither. Trans people are people whose sex assigned at birth does not match their gender. So they might choose to identify differently by dressing a certain way, going through hormone therapy, or gender reassignment surgery. As a non-binary or a genderqueer person, I feel that my identity falls under the transgender umbrella, because I don't identify with traditional gender roles assigned to men and women. And this is why I choose to identify as neither. Sexuality, sexual attraction, sexual orientation, not quite related to gender. Sexuality encompasses many elements. For example, who are you attracted to, your sexual behavior, and your identity. Some of the sexualities are lesbian, gay, bisexual, pansexual. Asexuality and other terms like aromantic or demisexual debatably are also related to sexuality, because they embody a combination of sexual behavior, so for example lack of sexual activity, and practices in people's life. For example, demisexual are people who only experience sexual attraction to people with whom they have emotional attraction. Interestingly, even John Rowling had to experience misogyny and using gender to her advantage, because her pen name is J.K. Rowling, while originally at birth she doesn't have middle name, so her name is just Joanne Rowling. But a publisher thought that she should have a full name with a middle name, because it sounds more male, and that young boys for whom the book is written would not want to read a book by a woman. So she chose K as a second initial to appear more masculine. So you know what they say, if people are hating on somebody, it's probably they are trying to suppress something in them. A cheater will always suspect other people of cheating. A homophobe is probably latent homosexual, and J.K. Rowling really has issues with her gender identity. What happened to me and other queer folks and allies when we heard that Rowling started using her platform to advance the movement against trans rights? I felt angry, I felt disappointed, I felt outraged, and that's why a lot of people also wanted to deplatform her, to cancel her, because this is a multi-millionaire empire which is just funding her TERF initiatives. And I felt bad for contributing to this platform in the past. My first impulse was to stop consuming Harry Potter content altogether. I boycotted the upcoming films from the Fantastic Beasts franchise that were coming up, and also the video game Hogwarts Legacy. And for a while I thought that I could never watch the films or read the books anymore. But I actually found a way to still support other fans and still do not give my money to the author. There are actually many Harry Potter fan podcasts dedicated, and channels as well, dedicated to supporting trans people and people of color, or trans people of color, while being critical about the books and deconstructing them from the new perspectives. Podcast that got me into other Harry Potter fan casts was Potterless. Pottermore, Potterless. A story of a clueless American guy, Mike Schubert, when he started reading Harry Potter books as an adult at 25 years old, and he was pointing out some of the problematic things that went over my head when I was reading and even rereading the books as a child. And another podcast that I really love is The Goblet of Wine, which is one of the most popular British Harry Potter podcasts. And I love the way that the hosts, Charlie and Hannah, expose Rowling's transphobia, while also having a nuanced view of what she had done previously, humanitarian work, helping charities for people with cancer, and so on. Ultimately, I think that the legacy of Harry Potter is what you make of it. I think as a single person, I might not be able to deplatform a multimillionaire writer like this, but I instead choose to support the people that are like me, that are queer, and people of color, which is why I'm also listing the organizations that are working to support trans people, so that you could also support them instead of funding Rowling's turfiness. You can search for someone. If you're in Europe, you can search for the European organization. Mermaids is a very well-known UK trans organization, and I also listed an article about top 20 BIPOC owned and operated trans charities as well. After all, we have to accept the fact that many authors and celebrities are very problematic, and most of the time we learn about that when they are already dead. For example, thinking of popular Russian writers like Dostoevsky, who was a child molester, and then Lev Tolstoy. He was a terrible misogynist and cheated on his wife, and I thought that, women belong in the kitchen. And even, if you if you look it up, a lot of people are problematic, like the Mother Teresa, who misused the money that she collected to help people. And that's why it just so happened that John Rowling's problematic nature came out while she's still alive and at the prime of her fame. So what I choose to be doing is thinking of it in the terms of the death of the author. So what is the death of the author is a concept brought by Roland Barthes in his essay La mort de l'auteur, where he is talking about the experience of the reader which matters more than what the author initially wanted to say. It's just the same argument that Kyle made in South Park in the episode about Star Wars, rewriting Star Wars, that once some piece of media becomes this popular, it belongs to the viewers, it belongs to everyone, and this is why we are free to use it and interpret it as we like. I actually learned about this concept in a video essay by Lindsay Ellis, where she actually talked about this phenomenon in relation to John Rowling, so I highly recommend to go check out her essay. And I will add the link to her video and also the link to the podcast I mentioned in the description below. I think this is it. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Please share your comments and your experience about Harry Potter and Rowling. I also know that some people got their tattoos, Harry Potter themed tattoos, and now they are covering them up or removing them. And Lauren from Trickle Tats also did a video of breakdown of how problematic John Rowling is, and I will link it down below as well. Once again, thanks for watching, and as all YouTubers and vloggers are supposed to say, please like this video and subscribe. Bye!